Welcome back, everyone. We're here today, brand new Cabral Concept for you. Today is going to be the Restless Mind and ADHD diet. Now, the fun thing is, a lot of times when I'm getting a lot of questions on social media or I'm getting follow-ups to previous podcasts, I love to be able to go back to that particular show, listen to the topic of how I broke it down. This particular one was on a Friday review, and then do an add-on to that show. So on that Friday review, I actually shared the research that I'm going to go through today as to how specific type of supplementation and diet worked remarkably well for children with ADHD or any type of behavioral impulsive control issues. And it's called the Barrett Impulsiveness Scale, the BIS. And this particular study was an 11.1 based for children with hyperactivity disorder. So attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. So ADD, ADHD, and basically like also a restless mind. So I think that there's a lot of adults that could also get a lot of benefit from this. And I've seen this actually work in private practice. So again, without giving you any medical advice or medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis, I want to actually take you through the PubMed research and share it with you. So again, this study was done out of neuralgia, and this is out of, I believe, England. I'll get all of this for you. I'll link it up today. Why don't I do that? 3 big takeaways, research study of the day at stephencabral.com/2540, the Restless Mind and ADHD diet. All right, and so the actual study is called Impulsiveness in Children with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder after an 8-week intervention with the Mediterranean diet and or omega-3 fatty acids, a randomized clinical trial. Now, here's the interesting thing. So they took children and they said, okay, all of these children are scoring poorly on the BIS, the Barrett Impulsiveness Scale. And so what they said is we're going to break them up into a few different groups, 4 actually. One is going to be a control group. So this basically, they're not getting anything, so placebo, and 3 intervention groups. Okay, so we've got one group that basically nothing's changed. It's just them living their own life because we need a control group, right? We've got 3 intervention groups. One is the Mediterranean diet. The other is omega-3 supplementation. And the last one is the Mediterranean diet plus omega-3 supplementation. And it's a very specific omega-3, which is very interesting. So I'm going to share that with you as well. And so a personalized Mediterranean diet was designed for members of groups 2 and 4. Remember, one is doing nothing different. The second, just supplementation. The third, just the diet. The fourth, supplementation and diet, okay, which is the Mediterranean diet. And if you don't know what the Mediterranean diet is, I'm going to link up a show here today. The show is called The Foundation of All Diets. I've got another show called like My Mediterranean Diet, all sorts of different ones. Because as I've shared with you before, that the Mediterranean diet, like hands down, has the most positive research if you were to look at like one overall diet. But I will share some of the shortcomings today, and I believe it's why these children, and I could think that this can be used for adults, would have gotten better results. So I'm going to share that with you right now. Okay, so here were the results from this so that you know that this is conclusive, that this is real evidence. So the supplementation group showed a fairly significant, so a significant decrease in ADHD-based behavior. So attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, impulsiveness, restless, all that improved. All right, so the supplementation group did very well, meaning like significant decrease in all of those issues. Great. Total cognitive score decreased slightly or basically remained the same in the diet and supplementation group. Very strange, but interesting. So that's what I was asked lots of questions on, so I'm going to go through that today. And the control group showed a considerable decrease in motor score. So that, when we look at that specific number, that is not a positive. Like, we don't want that, right? So the control group, which didn't change anything, is not doing better, right? They're worse. Okay. The supplement and the diet group basically stayed the same, but we're going to chat about that. The supplementation group did really well, like significant decrease in the total scores of impulsiveness, hyperactivity disorder, attention deficit. Okay, so here is exactly what worked. An intake of 550 milligrams of EPA fatty acid and 225 milligrams of DHA fatty acid per day for 8 weeks is associated with less marked impulsive behavior in children with ADHD. A Mediterranean diet may improve BIS scores, although our results are not conclusive in this population. Very interesting. So, this is first things first, just like what we do know. Omega-3 supplements work for children and adults with ADHD, ADD, impulsive, executive functioning, those types of issues. Again, I'm not giving you any medical advice. You can do the research yourself. I'm going to link it up for you, okay? But it's interesting because we've been saying this now for years. All right, so back before 2010, I was not doing inflammation-based testing, and I was going with the flow of the industry. I was recommending a 2-to-1 or greater DHA to EPA omega-3 supplement. And it's not that it didn't work. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's not harmful. I'm not saying that at all, right? As long as it's tested for mercury and that it's coming from sustainable, good quality, wild fish, all those things, then you're gonna get the results. Like it's not that there's wrong with that. However, I started to run hundreds and then thousands and now tens of thousands of inflammation omega-3 tests. And what I found is that although we higher DHA to EPA, those are just types of omega-3s, and I have lots of shows on omega-3s, so I'll link up a couple today at stevencabral.com/2540. But I found that they were working fine, but they weren't raising EPA. So I said, that's interesting. Is there a product that's a 2-to-1 of EPA to DHA? And then I started to look at the biochemistry. Oh, EPA converts much more easily to DHA rather than DHA being reconverted essentially to EPA. So I started to use a 2 or 3-to-1 EPA to DHA. Lo and behold, I was getting phenomenal results in terms of healthy levels of inflammation, mood, executive functioning, all these different things that we're talking about here today. So that was a big, big breakthrough. Like that was a big breakthrough around 2010. And I found Dr. Amen and a bunch of other people were essentially doing the same thing. So all these people, we were all getting lab testing at the same time. And Dr. Amen, of course, for the brain, phenomenal doctor, been doing that twice as long as I've been doing this. And he's doing, I'm pretty sure he was doing the same thing. And because the research was coming out and we were seeing this, we were all for the first time able to really test omega-3s. You weren't really able to test it that well in the early 2000s. Anyway, what I'm saying to you is this. We use a product called Daily Omega-3 Support. And you can just use 1 for children or 2 for adults. And it's a soft gel. You can also get it as a liquid. All right, so it's easy to use. And ours is at stevencabral.com/shop. I can't link it up today. The FDA does not allow to do that, even though the research is here literally showing its effectiveness. But you can just go to stevencabral.com/shop. But again, you can also get your favorite omega-3 that's a 2-to-1 or greater of EPA to DHA through your local naturopathic doctor, functional medicine doctor, or integrative health practitioner. So it doesn't have to just be with our practice, okay? All right, so that's that. Now, it's interesting because a Mediterranean diet done right is high in omega-3s. So if a Mediterranean diet is also high in omega-3s, why would it not improve the ADHD impulsiveness in this study? And I'm going to share with you my hypothesis, which I believe to be true, okay? But it's a hypothesis at this point. I would love to see the study redone. It's that a Mediterranean diet is not necessarily or automatically high in omega-3s. So if you are not eating high omega-3s foods, such as salmon or sardines or anchovies or trout or mackerel, or things like walnuts and flax and chia, then you're not going to get a lot of omega-3s. Now, you could be eating some grass-fed beef or whatever it might be. Okay, I get it, but that's still a little higher in omega-6s than it is omega-3s. I'm not saying you can't eat those. I'm not saying that, right? But a Mediterranean diet, if you follow it to what a lot of people prescribe, which I don't, is breads and pastas and things like that. So now those are going to be higher in what? Omega-6s. And if you go back to my previous omega-3 to omega-6 shows where how inflammation happens, if you eat more omega-6s, it's going to lead to more arachidonic acid. that's going to lead to what? More inflammation in the body. The inflammation in people prone to ADHD, ADD, impulsiveness, even OCD, it's going to lead to more of that. So if you have a diet that's high in omega-6s, creating more inflammation, it's going to affect children, regardless of what your doctor or specialist says. There's so many books on this, that can actually be a hindrance. So it is my hypothesis right now, and I believe this to be true. I wish I could actually see the food they gave these children, but I couldn't find it. If anybody can find it, please do let me know. This is in a Spanish journal of neuralgia. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm sure that was terrible. But still, this is a 2019 study. And if someone can actually find the diet they were given, which I was not able to find, I'm almost guaranteeing you that it included those foods. And so this is how I would do it and how I have done it and gotten great results with this. I still use the omega-3 nutritional supplements. My daughters get omega-3s every day. The only time they don't get omega-3s is when they're eating fish at dinner. And they're doing a low mercury fish, of course. So I would still include that, right? It's been shown to improve IQ, mood, etc., right? I'm not going to go through all of those great things today. We're talking about this one specific thing. But what I would do is I would eliminate the grains, or at least for right now, just the bread and pasta from this. And I would include, you could have some oatmeal, you could have some rice. I'm okay with that, right? But I'd reduce a lot of the gluten-based foods, which a lot of these children are sensitive to anyways because of gut issues, and this goes for adults as well. And I would simply add in more neutral-based foods that are not high in omega-6s, like fruits and vegetables. And what I would do then is make sure that they're getting enough omega-3s from the diet to balance those omega-6s. And that might include some walnuts and some chia. Maybe they're making a smoothie for breakfast. These types of things is what I would absolutely do. I would rerun this study, and I would do the same 4 groups. All right, control, no change. Second group is the diet alone. The third group is the diet and supplementation. And the fourth group is the let's see, there were 3 groups. Omega-3 alone, diet plus supplementation, and then there was the control group, which did not change anything, right? That's what we have for our groups, yes. Okay, so what I would do is I would do the exact same thing, but I would do it with this version of the Mediterranean diet. And I'm telling you right now, I am willing to bet that when it's not just supplements, and it's not just the Mediterranean diet, but it's Mediterranean diet and supplements, I think you'd see the greatest improvement. But I do believe you would see improvement in supplements alone. We've already proven that. But and the last one, which did not show basically neutral or even a slight decline, is the Mediterranean diet. I believe, and so do the authors of this, believe that the Mediterranean diet should and will improve it because it's supposed to be a high omega-3 diet. The problem is I don't think that was followed properly. So I'd love to see this redone one day. If I'm able to, I'd love to be able to conduct some of this research myself. We just need the funding to be able to do it. We have the HIPAA compliant app now. We have all the things to be able to do it. But again, that's the future. I look forward to it. I'm not in a rush to get there, but these are all things that I want to be able to do and share with you because these are things that are going to absolutely shape the lives of the next generation of all these children. And I know that there's so many adults out there dealing with these same types of things. So hopefully today's show was helpful. Again, I'd love your feedback. I would love to see if you have the same hypothesis, the same theory. Maybe it's different, and that's okay. I'd love to hear that as well in the comments. Feel free to leave those on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever works for you. And of course, if the show was helpful, please always feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing day.